to Northwest Connection. This episode isn't a band interview, no gear talk, no tour stories, no breakdowns or set list. We're talking to True Spilt Milk, an artist whose visuals shape the identity of the heavy music scene. Instead of focusing on the sound, they're focusing on the imagery instead. Let's get into it.
My name's Paul Holbrook Phillips. I create artwork for the music industry and movie industry under the moniker of True Spilt Milk.
So, where did the name True Spilt Milk originate from? And is there any special meaning behind it?
I needed, I didn't want to use my actual name for sort of artwork stuff because I just felt like it was really unmemorable and it wouldn't stick in people's heads. So I wanted something that wasn't a regular name. And when I was sort of growing up, I was a bit of a crybaby, and I'm quite an emotional person. So I just, the phrase, crying over spilt milk just popped into my head, and I didn't really give it a huge amount of thought. I was just like, fuck it, yeah, that'll do. And that's pretty much it, really.
And where are you based, Paul?
I'm from Guildford originally, but I'm in Brighton at the moment.
And how did you end up doing artwork for the music industry?
Well, I just playing in bands since I was probably about 19.
Okay, so how was it that you came about starting to do artwork for bands within the music industry?
Well, I was playing in bands from the age of about sort of 19 up until I was about 29, I think. And I'd just been doing it for a long time, doing the grind of it, working day jobs and touring at the same time, and just not really having a life or money at any point. And I've been doing it for so long. And then the singer of my band at the time quit, and I was just, the band kind of imploded, and I was just at a point where I just couldn't see myself starting from scratch all over again. So, and also a recession hit, sort of just as that happened. So I was just like, I've got no money, I can't get a job. I was applying for jobs left, right, and centre, and I was just getting no responses. So I thought, right, okay, well, I'll go to uni, and then I can use the student loans, etc., to tide me over through the worst of the recession. And at the end of it, hopefully I'll have a qualification and I'll be in a good place to get a job. So I was the only thing I was sort of good at is creative stuff. I'm not academic at all. So I just did a graphic design degree, and then it just became really obvious that my degree was giving me the skills I would need to do album covers and that kind of stuff. And because I already had a foot in the scene, I was just like, yeah, this just makes perfect sense, really. It's stupid not to go down this path. So that's the basics of it.
So how did the chaos of touring and band life shape your creative instincts?
I don't know that it did, to be honest. I've always been a pretty creative person, just have always had an overflow of ideas. I get inspired really easily. I've got a bit of a ADHD thing going on, so I'm always thinking, and there's always thoughts just buzzing around in my head. So it doesn't take much for me to see something and see an idea in it. And so, I don't know, the touring wise, being in bands, I think that what it did do is give me a work ethic. Definitely, when getting into bands, when you're younger, I don't think you really, you have this goal that you're going to be in this band and you're going to be able to live your life playing shows every night, and it's going to be super cool. But then you quickly realise, sort of when you start touring, that it's 95% boredom and driving, and then for 20 minutes of being a rock star and feeling cool, and then you come off stage and a couple of kids might buy some merch or whatever, and that's about as cool as you feel, and then the reality of the situation quickly settles in. And I gotta say, I did love the lifestyle when I was younger. It was really fun hanging out with my mates and playing shows and driving up and down the country and meeting people you probably wouldn't meet otherwise. But like by the time I was in my late 20s, like my back was hurting. I just sleeping on floors just wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like work ethic was drilled into me through just having to go to work, finish work, drive up to fucking Leeds, play a show, drive all the way back down again, and get 4 hours sleep, go to work again. Then rehearse the next night, and you got to write an album, then you got to record that album, you got to have money to make that album, then you got to have money to tour, you got to have money to make merch. There's a lot of logistics that go into it, and if you're the only person that's really doing that for your band, which kind of I was, like the guys were helping out a little bit, but I was kind of the one driving it all. It's a 7 day a week, 24 hour a day kind of deal. And you burn out, and that's kind of what I did. It's kind of what we did as a band.
Happen, isn't it?
So did you used to do all the design artwork for your bands?
I ended up doing it for the last band I played in, X's. But prior to that, I actually didn't do too much of that. I came up with ideas and concepts and stuff. I was, definitely had a hand in the sort of creative side of it. But our singer at the time, Toby, who now plays in a band called Laundromat, he did most of the sort of graphic design. At that time, like when I was playing band, I didn't know anything about Photoshop or anything like that. I was complete novice when it came to art at that point. It wasn't until the band folded that I was like, right, I really love alternative gig posters. Like I'd been to see Don Caballero and came home with a Reese Wooten print from that show, and I was just in love with the sort of just that side of things from that point onwards. And then I was like, well, if I'm not going to play in bands, then this is the direction I need to go in.
So
you don't miss the chaos of being in a band then?
I don't miss the chaos. I miss those rehearsals where you're writing for a new record and you finish a song and you play it all the way through from beginning to end for the first time without fucking it up. Like that's such a nice feeling. Like you can't beat that feeling when you all look at each other and go, oh, "We did it!" and you know at that point that's when you know if it's going to be a good song or not. Like and I also really miss that day when you first get your masters back from like a new record that you've made. Yeah. You first get to hear the songs you've toiled over for like a year or whatever, and in all its glory, properly produced. Like I really miss that feeling. But I don't really miss much else, to be honest. Like the driving and the late nights and the smell of rehearsal spaces. I really.
So, both musically and artistically, who has inspired you the most?
Ooh. I guess it's kind of an obvious one, but Converge are a good example of that. Jacob Bannon's artworks always it's inspired me for years. I think they're probably one of, if not my favourite sort of hardcore bands. I just really dig the whole branding around Converge and just the way they've marketed themselves over the years. Like, they're just savage bands, and every record is just front to back bangers. So they're probably one of the most consistent bands out there, I think. But yeah, like just in Yeah, it's really hard to pick one because I am influenced by a lot of things, artist-wise, people like Richie Beckett, fucking. This is where I fall down because I just forget everybody's names. Really like Ken Taylor's work. Yeah, and musically, just probably a lot of the same stuff as you guys, to be honest, man. And a lot of the people in the UK music scene, we've all grown up listening to the same bands, haven't we? I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything on Hydra Heads, like anything on Relapse Records, it's all good stuff.
So, if you had to describe your design style as a genre of music, what would it be?
Oh man. That's the toughest question I've ever been asked, I think. I guess it's funny actually, I come from a math background, playing wise, and I guess my art is similar to that in the respect that it's complicated. It takes a long time to sort of get a piece done, and yeah, it just has a lot of moving parts and elements to it. So yeah, I'm gonna say like mathcore or math.
Right, nice.
So your work has graced albums and merch for Conjurer, Mastiff, Torpor, Palm Reader, and festivals like Arctangents. What's your process for translating a band's sound into a visual language?
Basically, a band will send me a brief. It's normally based on concepts within the records, or lyrical content. Occasionally a band will message me and just say, "Go nuts, do your own thing." Sometimes bands are like, "Look, we just love the music. We don't really." We don't know what we're doing as far as art goes, so could you come up with something? And like, I'm more than happy to do that. I do find that the more freedom I have, the better ideas I tend to come up with. If there's too many constraints, or I'm writing to a really specific brief, I find that I end up just illustrating their vision, which is absolutely fine. But I do find that I think outside the box a little bit more when it comes to concepts. So yeah, so they give me a brief, and then I have like a folder full of images that I've captured. Like I go out whenever I go anywhere, be it holiday or even just like a walk by the sea at the weekends. Like I obsessively take pictures on my phone, and I upload them into a folder and keep them as reference images. And then basically once I've got the lyrics from the band or the general brief, I keep that in mind whilst flicking through images. And I'm basically looking for a spark, and eventually I'll find one. Sometimes that can take half an hour. Sometimes it takes a whole day of just flicking through images. But once I've got that spark and that initial idea, I then make a rough sort of Photoshop montage of it. And then that's where most of the designing aspect happens. I play around with sizes and figure out where things should sit in the image. Then once I've got all that sorted, I make the image completely black and white, and I screw around with the contrast, make the darks really dark and the lights really light, and then I use that as like a template. And that template is what I use to draw over, basically, to create the image. And then after that, it's just kind of it's a bit free form, when it comes to adding color and stuff like that. I just spend a few days just playing around with the image.
So would you listen to the band's back catalogue as you're creating?
Yeah, if they have one. A lot of the times I'm doing stuff for bands that haven't been around that long.
Right.
But yeah, I'll almost always be listening to the band's music whilst I'm drawing the illustration.
Yeah.
Has a band ever surprised you with how they interpret your artwork?
Oh yeah. Like sometimes, like you will get a brief, and the band has kind of maybe done the brief in a rush because these people have busy lives, and it's maybe not as important to them as the music, so they kind of hash it out pretty quick and get it over to me because they just are in a rush, or because bands like to leave it to the last minute sometimes. A plethora of reasons can result in them sort of rushing a brief, and sometimes when you get the brief over, I'm a very literal thinker, so I will look at a brief and I will do exactly what that brief tells me, unless it tells me do your own thing. So my interpretation of that brief tends to be very literal, and then I'll send it back to the band, and then sometimes they'll be like, oh, this is maybe not quite what we had in mind, and then I'm like, well, that's exactly what you've written, so if it's not what you've had in mind, then you need to go back and rewrite that brief. Which, it does happen, and it's no problem when that does happen. It becomes a bit of a time waster for both me and the band, and it can delay things sometimes. Sometimes people need to put a little bit more thought into the initial stages of the process. But it doesn't happen very often. Other times people will look at my work and can completely be off the mark. But the majority of the time, people seem to connect with it and get it. I think I don't think I'd keep getting work if they didn't. So
yeah. And is there artwork that you keep for yourself, or is it all for clients?
I don't really have time to do artwork for myself. I'd love to, but yeah, just be trying to pay bills on what artists get paid is a real juggling act, and it quite often means working 7 days a week, 11 to 14 hours a day, so that leaves literally no space to do personal projects. But I would love to, but maybe down the line when I've maybe a bit more successful, have a bit more money, it'll be feasible for me to do more of my own artwork. But until that day.
Well, when you're not working, even though you're working 7 days a week, how do you unwind?
The thing with art is, like, I don't necessarily feel like I need to unwind, because I find artwork itself quite therapeutic and relaxing. So I'm kind of in a constant state of unwind, which, I think is healthy and it's kind of nice. I don't.
Yeah, definitely.
I work long hours, but I don't have a particularly stressful lifestyle or anything like that. I'm not massively social anymore. So yeah, I just kind of chill and listen to music and watch movies and spend my whole time drawing. And I get a massive buzz off every time I finish a project or every time someone likes something I do. So, there's no real need to unwind.
Living the dream.
In some ways, yeah. It probably sounds a lot nicer than it is. Sometimes you feel like you're going mad because, your daily life is quite repetitive, and you are kind of chained to your laptop. It's a double-edged sword. It's on one hand, I have all this freedom. I can just down tools and go and walk down by the sea whenever I want. I don't have to ask my supervisor or my manager or whatever. But at the same time, if I don't spend a certain amount of hours at my computer, I'm not going to meet deadlines. So there's a lot. There's freedom there, but it's a type of freedom.
And could you tell us about any current projects that you're working on?
I might be doing a little music video for a band, actually. I won't say just who, but it's one of the bands that I've done artwork for in the past. And the song is quite long, so I'm going to try and make it quite cinematic. But the budget's quite small, so I'm treating it like a creative exercise to keep me sharp. Because I used to make sort of music videos from time to time. So that'll be something a bit different for me. I'm currently working on 2 album covers and a couple of t-shirts for a label. There is some cool stuff coming up. There's some stuff that I finished that hasn't been released yet. And I did a cool job the other day where I did a poster that was for a movie that's just been filmed, and they've just wrapped shooting, and the poster was given out as a gift to all the cast and crew, and the film's got John Travolta in, and it's directed by Rennie Harlin, who did like Die Hard 2 and Deep Blue Sea and Nightmare on Elm Street 4, like loads of cool movies from my childhood. So that was a really cool project. Getting to see Rennie Harlin holding a copy of it and stuff. That was interesting, yeah. And I really want to do some more movie posters in the new year, but they're hard to do because it takes a long time to get paid from those. Yeah. Like, you put all the hours in and all the work, but you don't see the money for months. So you have to already be afloat before you can put the time.
Yeah. That must be hard.
Yeah, I'll do like a bunch of album covers and like work really intensely to try and build up a little bit of money so I can take the time off to do a movie poster, and then I'll get back into it. And then when the poster eventually comes out, that's like this unexpected influx of money. So you're suddenly flush for a little bit. You've got to really sort of just juggle that.
Yeah. So you've already said there that you're currently working on a couple of album covers, a couple of posters, and some merch as well. So how do you actually manage to balance all that? When do you know when to stop on one piece and move on to another?
At this point now, it's just kind of instinctive. But I roughly know how long a piece is going to take me. Sometimes it almost always takes a bit longer than I think it's going to. So I try to take that into account. But, I think as long as you're organised about it and you're keeping a note of the projects that you've got coming up, then you can pretty much just look at your calendar and go, oh, yeah, that's going to take me 2 weeks. So that gives me time to start that one, which has a deadline of this day. And, you just figure it out, man.
So is there any music or art that's been inspiring you lately?
Recently? Probably, yeah. Can I think of anything? I should have pre-prepared something like that, shouldn't I? A whole list of stuff. Music-wise, this year's kind of been hard because normally I would rely on Spotify. I would just listen to albums all year long, obsessively, like everything new that comes out, and put it in a folder for that year. And then at the end of the year, just go through everything. But because I've mugged off Spotify like a lot of people, I just don't have that. I'm not as organised with the music this year, so I'm struggling to remember lots of good music. What are they called? See, this is it, man. I need my list. I need Spotify to not be shit. So, the Conjurer album's really good.
Yeah.
It's kind of an obvious one. Everyone's gonna, already know about that, I'm sure. And what else? I'll avoid mentioning the bands I've worked with because it'll seem like.
Go for it. There's been some great albums released there.
Well, obviously the Graham Mastiff have been really well received. The Bile album, as far as stuff I've worked on, I really dug the Row of Ashes album.
Yeah.
Good. Pretty much anything that has come out on Human Worth this year. Ripcord, they've put out a lot of good stuff this year. Who else?
It's been a good year for music.
It has. I feel like every
Really
year's a
strong.
good year, but definitely this year is for sort of smaller UK bands. I think
Yeah, definitely.
lots of really good sludge, lots of really good post metal. I just feel spoilt for choice. Feel lucky to be involved in a scene with so many cool bands, and there just seems to be a never-ending flow of new bands coming out. So, which is nice to see when you go on the internet and it's all doom and gloom about how it's so expensive to tour that we're gonna lose a lot of bands because they just can't afford to tour and stuff. You read a lot about that, but then you sort of that's contradicted by if you look at Instagram and you just see lots of these bands out just doing it despite all of that.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about music. Like, even if people can't necessarily afford to do it, they'll find a way. Like they'll cut corners wherever they can, and they'll just people that really love music will just fucking do it. Yeah.
Do you have a dream collaboration that you'd love to do?
I'd love to work with more American bands, to be honest. Like I did a shirt for Crippling Alcoholism this year, and that was really nice to work with those guys. And I really like Portrayal of Guilt. I'd love to do some merch for them. Obviously, the big hitters, bands like Mastodon, Converge, as I mentioned earlier, but obviously a lot of bands that I'd really like to work with have do their art in-house, or have members of the bands that are actually artists themselves. I'd like to work with Conan. That would be nice. I mean, I could reel off a long list of bands. But I just really love working with my sort of loyal base. Like I've done loads of work for Mastiff and 100-Year-Old Man. They're great client and super easy to work with. So I'd probably always pick those guys over anyone else. The loyal client.
Yeah.
Because we have a good working relationship.
Do you find that once you've worked with the clients a couple of times that you can work much quicker as well because you've already got an idea of what they're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things where if the more I work with the client, like Earn, for instance, I've done a load of stuff at Earn this year, and they just kind of trust me now. So they just sort of like, here's a rough idea, go do your thing, and I'm like, bam, bam, bam. How's about this? They're like, yeah, that's cool. Done. It's like it just we've got a flow, and that's real nice. And it takes certain kind of people, a certain level of sort of being relaxed and trust for you to have that sort of relationship with an artist and with the band, I think. So yeah, it's cool that I've got a few clients now that we have that kind of vibe with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to move on to the fun questions now. So, what was the first gig you ever went to?
First gig, I think that was. It was either Compulsion at the Dublin Castle or Garbage at Brixton Academy. I think it was Compulsion, but yeah. And then I saw Garbage at the Brixton Academy, and then the week later I saw Slayer at the Brixton Academy. So yeah, they're like my first.
Pretty good three first gigs there. I love that Compulsion album when it first came out. It was a Comforter.
Oh, Comforter, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, I saw them play like on the Word, I think it was, and I was just sold, instantly sold.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a great band. Like, you know, only people that were really into stuff that period sort of know who you're talking about when you mention that band.
More Monarchy was one of my favourite tracks when I was a teenager. I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
I think I recorded like their set off of Glastonbury when it was on TV, and they were playing More Monarchy, and I just used to watch that over and over and over again. Like, that's the kind of thing I was watching when I was trying to start a band and get into get bands and stuff. I was just super into that kind of. I've always loved sort of snotty bands, punk bands, and stuff like that.
If you'd only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cool. Do you know what? Like the other day, I hadn't listened to it in ages, but I put on Angel Dust by Faith No More, and I just thought, this is such a fucking perfect album, man.
Yeah,
there's just nothing bad on it. Every song has got really heavy, gnarly stuff going on, but also really catchy choruses. And, you know, I know it's kind of maybe it's an obvious choice to some because they're such a big band and it was such a big record, but I think that's one album that I'll probably just never get bored of listening to. A lot of my favourite albums I love to death, but I've kind of also listened to them to death. It doesn't seem to matter how many times I listen to Angel Dust, it still feels fresh every single time.
Good choice.
I think so.
Is there a band you drop everything to design for tomorrow?
Oh, quite a few bands. Meshuggah, Mars Volta, Converge, obviously. Jacob would not be happy about that. I don't know, man. Like, you could pretty much pick any band from the UK scene, and I would happily drop everything to work with them. You know? I'm really just sort of consider myself lucky to be able to do this at all and make money out of it. So any band that wants to work with me, I'm down for that. You know, unless they're really shit.
Yeah. Is that how we know when you don't like somebody, you don't pick up the art for them?
I mean, it does happen. It's inevitable. You'll get. You know, sometimes people. You know, I'm never nasty about it like that, but sometimes like a band might not be at that level yet, where I feel like my artwork would be represented well by being on the cover of their music. You know, it's not necessarily to say that they're bad, or you know, they might just not be there yet. But yeah, definitely that, you know, there's definitely, like, I do turn projects down sometimes. Like I turned down Creed. I turned down a Sleep Token album as well.
Right.
So yeah, occasionally there's just stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling this. So
yeah, artistic license.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter to me how big or small the band is. If it's not my thing, it's not my thing.
Is there a band that could bring you out of drummer retirement?
There isn't. My body just would give up on that one. You know, there's lots of bands I would love to play in. You know, like be cool to play in a band like Black Breath and just, you know, do sick beatdowns all the time. And you know, also I'd love to play in like a band like Bark Market or Das Oath, old some of the older, more discordant bands. I've always had a bit of a love affair with Blood Brothers. They'd be a wicked band to play drums in.
Nothing you can manage, maybe a Bellwitch song.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know what? I was a fast drummer. I don't think I could slow down slow enough to play in a doom band. Maybe now I'm older and more decrepit, it would be feasible, but I think if I was gonna play in a doom band, someone like Electric Wizards or something like that, something with a bit more groove to it.
Yeah.
What would you consider the best band logo of all time?
Ooh. Yeah, that's good. No black metal band logos. I do love them to look at, but I do believe in legibility to some degree. I can't read what I'm looking at. I am a bit like, looks cool, kind of pointless. But yeah, I've always
That's chat pile out. From a kid, I always really liked the Megadeth logo. I always thought it was really cool the way it was drawn. Looked like metal. I thought that was really cool. When I was younger, I really liked the Sepultura S. Yeah,
always thought that was really cool. Now I'm kind of indifferent to that. I don't know, maybe it's where my taste has evolved, but now I look at it and I'm like, meh. But when I was a kid, I thought it rocked. Who else is good logo-wise? Always liked the Deicide logo. Always thought that was quite cool. That's about as close to black metal as I'd be willing to get,
Legible.
Yeah. Who was that? The Anthrax logo was pretty cool as well. Actually,
classic.
It's just it's all older sort of logos that seem to have the most impact for me. I guess that's just an age thing though. But
I used to have the Slayer and the Anthrax ones on my school books logo, mainly because I could actually draw them ones. That's just not a lot of ruler lines.
Totally. Like the Slayer one for sure, man. Like I think people of our generation, like I remember kids cutting that shit into their arm at school with a trying to. The Machine Head logo was pretty good as well.
That was another easy one to draw.
Yeah, it was. Really, really basic and simple, but at the same time, quite iconic. You remembered it. You always. I mean, it's just I kind of hate what it's made of now. Like I would never do something that was just flipped it like that, But for the time, like it was perfect branding.
Yeah. Who's the most underrated band you've worked with?
I feel like they're all underrated, to be honest. I feel like they should all be much bigger than they are. Definitely Mastiff. Those boys should be massive, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the most distinctive and one of the heaviest sounding bands that's come out in recent years. I feel like if they were American, I feel like they'd be huge. Bands in the States seem to explode a lot quicker than bands in the UK. But yeah, definitely those guys. Row of Ashes, they've put out a couple of really great sludge albums, and they're still kind of doing the toilet circuit. And I just feel like they should get a lot more recognition because they're really sort of nailing that really dirty tones and stuff that a lot of bands aren't quite there with. I don't know. So yeah, those guys, as well as everybody else, because I'm going to be kind.
What's the weirdest merch idea you've had been asked to design?
Haven't really. You know what? Like, disappointingly, I haven't really had anything particularly weird. No, that's yeah. It's just t-shirts, mate. Oh, I did for Catherine Priddy, who's like a really nice folk artist. I did a tea towel. So that was kind of cute. But yeah, aside from that, haven't really done anything super interesting. It's nice. It's nice doing sort of tour posters. Like I did one for Palm Reader, and I've just done one for Vower. It's nice doing tour posters that have something a little bit special about them. Like both of those had UV ink layers, so that if you turn the lights off, there's a layer that glows in the dark. I really like stuff like that.
So Roll of Ashes haven't asked for a tea towel or an umbrella or...
That would be amazing, a Roll of Ashes tea.
I'll let Chris know after the call. So, and the last one in this part, what's your favourite colour to work with?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I hot pink, man. Like, I fucking love hot pink. I'll try and shoehorn it into as many things as I can. Like, but yeah, like my preferred palettes are like greys and golds and hot pinks and blues, basically. When a band asks for purple, I almost always veto that idea. I hate purple, but I'll do it if there's a special reason. Like they're like, oh yeah, my my dead dog was purple. I would. It's gonna be really important to me that this cover is purple. I might do it then, but as a rule, I avoid purple at all costs. I don't know why. It's a general repulsion I have to it. Gold and hot pink. Love those guys.
Nice. Right, we're going to move on to the quick fire questions now, just to finish with.
Nice.
Sabbath or Zeppelin?
Oh, Sabbath.
Definitely.
Less child molesting going on in the Sabbath camp, I think.
I think they were far too stoned for any of that, weren't they, really?
Yeah.
Vinyl sleeve or gig poster?
Oh, bastards. Vinyl purely because I get a copy at the end of the process. And I'm a vinyl junkie, so yeah, records are best. You get music with it as well, you know, music and the art, so yeah.
Yeah. Big festivals or intimate gigs?
Intimate gigs.
Black ink or full colour chaos?
Ooh, full colour chaos.
Whiskey or beer?
Whiskey.
Coffee fueled all nighter or early morning clarity?
What was that?
Coffee fueled all nighter.
Salad to me.
Coffee fueled all nighter or early morning clarity?
Neither. I'm more of a alcohol fueled all nighter.
Works the same way.
Yeah.
Drum solo or bass solo?
Drum solo.
That was obvious.
Bacon frazzles or onion rings?
Bacon frazzles.
And to finish with, a chocolate bar with blue cheese centre or a biscuit coated in squid ink?
Biscuit. I fucking hate cheese. That was a no-brainer for me.
Thanks for coming on, Paul.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been lovely to connect with the outside world for a change.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. You've been lovely.
Cheers.